This story is a lot darker, and it all revolves around a place called Colchester Overpass in Fairfax County, Virginia, better known to locals as Bunny Man Bridge. For decades, this bridge has been the epicenter of a chilling urban legend, one that has terrified teenagers and fascinated folklorists for generations. So, what's the real story? Is there a phantom figure in a bunny suit terrorizing this quiet corner of Virginia? Or is it all just a spooky tale that got out of hand? Let's grab our flashlights and venture down the dark, winding path of the Bunny Man legend. The most popular version of the tale goes something like this. Back in the early 1900s, a local asylum for the criminally insane was being shut down. During the transfer of patients to a new facility, one of the transport buses crashed. Most of the inmates were either recaptured or found deceased, but two of them, Douglas J. Griffin and Marcus Walster, managed to escape into the dense surrounding woods. A search party was formed, but as days turned into weeks, the escapees remained at large. Soon, a disturbing trail of half-eaten, mutilated rabbit carcasses began appearing in the area, hanging from the trees, and even from the Colchester Overpass itself. The search party eventually found one of the escapees, Marcus Walster, hanging from the bridge in a similar gruesome fashion. A note was pinned to his foot that simply read, "You'll never find me, no matter how hard you try." Signed, the Bunny Man. The other escapee, Douglas Griffin, was never seen again. The legend says that for years afterward, on Halloween night, his spirit returns to the bridge. They say if you dare to walk under the overpass at midnight, he'll appear, sometimes as a spectral figure, sometimes as a man in a tattered bunny costume, ready to reenact his grim deeds. Teenagers have dared each other for years to visit the bridge, testing their courage against the legend. It's a terrifying story, right? A crashed bus, escaped inmates, and a mysterious figure in a bunny suit. It has all the classic elements of a great campfire tale. But here's where things get really interesting. When local historians and archivists started digging into this story, they found nothing. There was no record of an asylum in Clifton or Fairfax County being shut down in the early 1900s. There was no bus crash involving escaped patients. And most importantly, there are no public records of anyone named Douglas Griffin or Marcus Walster. The entire origin story, the foundation of this terrifying legend, appears to be completely fabricated. So, if the asylum story is a myth, where did the Bunny Man come from? Well, the truth is stranger, and in some ways, even more unsettling than the fiction. The real story begins not in 1904, but in October of 1970. It started with a real-life incident reported to the Fairfax County Police. A young couple, a U.S. Air Force Academy cadet, and his fiancée, were sitting in their car near a relative's house in Burke, Virginia, not far from the bridge. Suddenly, a man in a white suit with long bunny ears appeared and started screaming at them about trespassing. Then, he threw a hatchet through their front passenger side window. Thankfully, the couple was unharmed and sped away. They described the man as being in his late teens or early 20s. Just 10 days later, a second sighting occurred. A private security guard, Paul Phillips, approached a man standing on the porch of an unfinished home. This man was wearing a gray, black, and white bunny costume and began chopping at a porch post with an axe, yelling, "All you people trespass around here. If you don't get out of here, I'm going to bust you on the head." The guard wisely retreated to his car to call the police, but by the time they arrived, the Bunny Man had vanished into the woods. The police launched an investigation, but the real-life Bunny Man was never identified or caught. These two documented real-life incidents are the true genesis of the legend. So how did two bizarre but non-lethal incidents in 1970 morph into a ghostly tale set in 1904? This is the fascinating part about how urban legends evolve. The real events were frightening, but they lacked a supernatural element. The story needed more. Over time, storytellers started to embellish the details. The real hatchet-wielding man in a bunny suit became a ghostly axe murderer. The location shifted slightly from the residential streets of Burke to the much spookier, more isolated Colchester Overpass, which already had a local reputation for being a bit creepy. The asylum narrative was likely added to provide a more dramatic and horrifying backstory. It's a classic case of folklore telephone, where a story is passed from person to person, with each one adding their own little twist. until the original truth is almost completely buried under layers of fiction. The bridge itself plays a huge role in the legend's persistence. Colchester Overpass is a narrow, single-lane tunnel under a railroad track. It's dark, damp, and has an undeniable echo. It feels like a place where something spooky should happen. When you stand under it, especially at night, it's easy to let your imagination run wild. Every creak of the tracks above, every rustle in the trees, can sound like an approaching footstep. The atmosphere of the bridge is the perfect stage for a ghost story, which is why it became the focal point, even though the real incidents happened nearby, not directly at the bridge. The location and the legend became inseparable. Today, the Bunnyman Bridge is a local landmark. Despite the police trying to discourage visitors due to safety concerns about the narrow road and active railroad tracks, people still flock there, especially around Halloween. They come to test their bravery, to feel a thrill, and to connect with a piece of local folklore. The story has been featured in books, TV shows, and all over the internet, solidifying its place in the pantheon of great American urban legends. It's a powerful example of how a community's shared stories, a mixture of fact and fiction, can create a legend that takes on a life of its own, becoming more real than the history it replaced. So, is the Bunnyman real? Well, yes and no. The ghostly axe murderer from the asylum? Almost certainly not. But a very real and very strange man in a bunny suit who threatened people with a hatchet and an axe in 1970? Absolutely, that really happened. The legend is a fascinating blend of documented events and campfire storytelling, a perfect storm of weirdness that created an enduring myth. It reminds us that sometimes the strangest stories have a kernel of truth at their core, and that the human imagination is the most powerful tool for turning a bizarre incident into a timeless tale of terror. What do you think? Have you ever visited a place with a creepy local legend? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's weirdest urban legends, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more explorations into the strange and unexplained. Thanks for watching and stay curious.